Okay, we are live tonight for our discussion on um, career development and training. Did you guys like the readings this week?
Yeah, there were a lot.
A large amount of reading. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, a lot less reading.
And I thought it was more interesting too than all those Harvard business articles that are like 20 pages long, really dry.
I agree.
Not your thing, huh?
No.
This is only like 12 pages. Not too bad.
Well, and I thought it was interesting too. So that was, for me anyway, that was a huge bonus. So we're mostly going to talk about the case study. That was what the majority of the discussion is suggesting for tonight. And so I want to start off with having us list some of the positive results of the pilot program, the mentoring pilot program. If anyone wants to throw those out.
Just FYI, maybe I thought the reading was so easy because I just now realized I didn't read it all. And that is because when you mentioned the case study, I'm like, wait, what am I missing? Like, I read the training games and the, lifelong learners and Dilbert stuff, but apparently I'm missing the case study.
Well,
yeah, it's been that kind of week already, so.
Okay, well, I suppose you might be able to contribute some, maybe not specific, but you might have some ideas.
I hope so, yeah.
So, Kim and Matthew?
Well, as I say, on page 10, after that little comment, it says, another participant shared her thoughts. My mentoring experience made me feel more optimistic about my job and more positive about the bank as a whole. So, that was one positive about the whole program.
So they felt better about their job and about who they were working with.
Yeah. That's pretty much what everybody had to say. I don't think there was any negative comments from anyone.
Are we referring to the Bank of Chicago?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, just making sure.
Yes.
I mean, I didn't see any negative. It just seemed like everything was like just really good. Nothing. Everyone had everything.
So what were
really
what were some more specific positive results? You pulled that one out. That was great.
Well, if you go to I'm sorry, I cut you off. I apologize.
No, that's fine. Go ahead.
Well, I say if you go to the part B, the Federal Reserve Bank Chicago Mentoring Program B, on page 5, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 comments are just people that just this is the positive. First one, I learned to be a better listener. Key communication skill as a developmental goal of mine, and that whole page is just positive reviews.
Right. Matthew, was there any one thing that stuck out for you?
Well, I think overall, what I was able to get out of it was that they basically used these programs to create kind of an atmosphere of trust, and people actually believed in the program. And I mean, in my line of work, I see all kinds of like new training programs that are supposedly going to revolutionize the way we're helping our customers and things like that. But really, at the end of the day, it's really hard to get the employees to really care about or see what they're really getting out of it, because we just do them so often. And so it was nice to see some of these in the Appendix A, some of these positive responses that they were having.
One of the things that I appreciated was that there were some employees who were ready to leave the company because they thought they were at the end of their usefulness, but by going through the internship, that they discovered that there was still a place for them, and they decided not to leave. They stuck with the company.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good point.
So why do you think that there were such positive results from the mentor program?
I think mentoring in general just always has positive results. I mean, I've been mentored by bunches of people, and they've always just brought good things out of me, and always had a good experience. But
What about
I didn't, like I said, I didn't read this specific case, but mentoring in general, just my thoughts on that is that kind of reminds you of your purpose there, just kind of just initiates that, I guess, that motivation or desire to keep working, because sometimes we just get complacent and we forget our purpose or our value or what we're even doing. So
Yeah, I thought that there was just so many. It seemed like they were really going for, like revolutionizing how these guys are being mentored. I'm referring mainly to at the top of page 7 when they were doing circle mentoring. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, because it took it to a whole other level. It wasn't just the one-on-one. It also arranged like interests, people with like interests to work together as well.
I mean, it had the acronym HERO, right? I mean, what could go wrong?
I know. I thought that was a pretty great acronym. HERO,
Yeah.
Higher Education Resource Organization.
there you go.
Yep.
So do you think that the mentoring program would have been different if the mentors would have been paid versus volunteer?
Oh, man.
Well, my thing is, I think when you volunteer, you actually have a desire to do something. Whereas opposed to if you're getting paid, it's, I just think it's like, I'm just here just to get my paycheck. I don't know. That's just what
I don't know, though. Getting paid can really
motivate
incentivize
someone.
something. Yeah. I keep referring back to my job, but we had a mentoring program for a while, and we would basically impart our wisdom to new hires, and if those new hires were able to achieve or surpass their goals, then we would get a little bit of a cut from their commissions. And I found that to be pretty motivating. I thought it was odd that they weren't paying them.
They did, however, at the end, they got gift certificates.
Oh, that is true. Yeah.
But
they didn't know that was coming, right? That was
right
after.
Right.
So they were motivated by their desire.
Which is good and pure, and I agree with.
Yeah.
I agree with Kim there, but.
Well, so think of it this way. We engage in a lot of service in the church that we are not paid for, and yet, we still seek out the opportunities to serve others. And a mentorship of this nature, where they were not getting paid for it, is a form of service. And, so I think it worked well because they were not paid. They volunteered to do it. They stepped up, and they wanted to be a part of this new program. And I think sometimes it takes people giving of themselves to make things successful.
Yeah, as I was reading that, I was thinking about what are some situations that where companies where we can see something like this, actually like a real world application. And there's a talk that I heard in my industrial organizational psychology class that basically used Wikipedia as an example, where you have millions of people, and I mean Wikipedia has gotten a lot better, over the years, but you have millions of people working for free, contributing to that website, and it's really just one giant service, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really what builds Wikipedia, or people like you and I. I mean, I've never edited anything on Wikipedia, but people like us do it all the time.
That's true. That's a good example to bring up.
Yeah.
Because they are doing it to better the information on the internet.
Yeah. Or you think along the same lines, you think of all the YouTube videos that, like, you can Google anything on or search anything on YouTube, like how to change a tire, how to cook this, how to apply makeup or whatever, and people are doing that for other people, and it requires time and effort, but they genuinely want to, like, help or, like, share this knowledge or this passion that they have, and they're doing it all the time, so.
Well, I don't know about YouTube because they do it for the money.
Well,
initially,
now they realize that they can start a business because there's, like,
advertising
successful YouTubers, and there's advertising and everything now, but I don't know that was the case initially.
Right. So what do you think of the matching process that they went through to match the mentors with the mentees?
I think it's a good idea that they tried to find specific things that could bring them together. Because that can be hard with mentees and mentors if if there's, like, personality issues, or if a person's, like, really passive and a person's really aggressive. So it's just nicer when you have just more cohesive relationship.
I liked the example that they gave of the one lady who had the art museum background, and she really felt like she didn't fit in, and the mentor she got connected with had the same kind of background and was able to encourage her with her interests that way. I think it's important that they did try and match people, because it's hard to relate to somebody, hard to build a relationship when you have nothing in common.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's interesting.
Hey guys, I'm really sorry. You're super choppy, and I think it's because of my internet. So I'm gonna back out.
Okay.
And restart my internet, and then I'm gonna get back in. I'm sorry.
No worries.
I'll see you in a few.
Okay. Kim, what were you saying?
Was he slow for any of you guys?
Not really.
I could see him just fine.
Yeah, so can I. So, okay. Well, I just think it's interesting on page 6 of the top paragraph. It says they begin sorting people by either the primary goals for the program or what they can offer. So it's just kind of like, they went down and was like, okay, this is what this person can do, this is what they can offer, and I just think that's important.
Well, it shows that they really wanted the program to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to make sure that the matches were good. What about Rubenstein was initially contracted, or not even contracted, because she donated 10 hours of her time a week to make this a successful program. Do you think that made a difference?
I think it did, because it showed that she was vested in the idea. If you're taking your own personal time into an idea and you're not getting compensated for it, I think that shows that other people you have a passion for it.
And she eventually did get, they did create the position for a full-time job, so she was able to get actually paid for her efforts. But yeah, she definitely had a passion for what the program, the potential of the program could be. How can mentoring help employees with career development?
Well, I thought it was. I'm sorry if I'm just talking. You guys can just tell me to shut up, and I'll just.
Oh no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I thought it was interesting. On page 2, it says let's see. One, two, three, four, five. Like so, like the sixth paragraph, fifth paragraph. I don't know. Second from the bottom. It says friendships are organized around 6 core areas: leadership, communication, empowerment, performance management, skill development, and customer focus. And I'd pointed that, but I don't remember what your question was.
It was, how can a mentorship help with career development?
Oh, okay. So I just think that those core areas, I mean, if you, I mean, working with those can help develop your career. And with mentors, they've been there before. They kind of understand. I mean, not that the mentees haven't been there, because what did they say? They had to have been at least employed for a year.
Yes. Yeah.
So I mean, even just like help them in those little, those little areas right there can definitely, beef up their knowledge and their, how much, I don't know, better they are. I can't think of the word, but.
Leslie, would you want to be part of a mentor program ever?
Volunteering, like mentoring
Either
someone
way,
else, or just being part. Either way.
Either mentoring someone else or being the mentee. Would you be willing to be in a
I
program
think
like
I
that?
could benefit from both. Just something comes to mind right now is like, okay, so I'm kind of like the bottom of the totem pole at my job. I'm like the receptionist. I work front desk. I love it, but my job isn't as like hectic or demanding as some of the case managers. I work at a life insurance agency, and so, but we can all learn from one another, and I would definitely want to learn more about handling cases, doing the underwriting, and learning about the life insurance business in general. On the other hand, like there's things that I know how to do that some of the girls don't know how to do because they've never had to, So if I'm seeking reimbursement for medical records from a company, they don't know how to go through those steps, how to seek reimbursement, what to submit, all that stuff. It's like that's something that's unique to my job. But just like everybody has something to offer and something to teach another person, no matter what level you're at, So I would certainly like to be part of a mentor program. I think it's gonna develop. You're gonna be a more well-rounded person, So that's gonna help you in career development.
So one of the things that happened for me this year is last semester, or no, winter, whatever the semester was that started in January, I took the advanced word processing class, and I'm also a receptionist, and I could do the basics in Word, but I really learned a lot, and I really, really, really enjoyed the class. If you haven't taken it, I highly recommend it, even if it isn't on your course of your course outline that you need to take. But I was so enthusiastic about it and talked it up so much that I had my manager decide that it would be a good idea for the other ladies on the reception team to also, take the course per se. So we ordered the books for the other gals, and they worked their way through the book, and I grade their assignments, and if they have problems with it, they come to me and say, I don't know how to do this, or, if I find something on their assignments that are wrong, then I can go in and correct them, and I send them a note back and say, go back and look at this, and this is what it should be, and, so that's one way that I've been able to mentor the people I work with.
How are they responding to that? Were they open to that idea? I mean,
yes, they were. They were, because they saw how much I had learned throughout the semester. Because I was applying it to everything I was doing every single day. I was doing something with formatting, or we do a lot of posters and informational type flyers for the employees, and so they were seeing what I was doing, and they wanted to know how to do it. So it worked out really well. It's helping everybody meet their goals this year.
Yeah, it's good.
But you're right. People have things to offer, and I kind of feel like where I'm in school that I tend to have more along the lines of procedures or whatnot that I can offer these other gals who've been in reception longer than I have. But then they have the experience of, day-to-day weird things that pop up that, I haven't come across yet that they can help me through.
It's funny. Here's a story that actually remind me of have either one of you served missions before?
No.
So so when you're in your mission, so it's like the gospel. Everyone knows the gospel, or or we kind of like a basic understanding. And so when you go on your mission, you're given a trainer, and this person's been on their mission for however amount of time. But it's like so I knew the gospel. I went to the MTC, did all that stuff, but it was like my trainer taught me how to teach it, and yes, you learn that in the MTC, but it was almost like a better way to teach it, like a more understandable way to teach it, and so it was like something that I was like, like it was something I thought I knew, like something I thought I could explain, I could do, but the fact that she brought that knowledge in and we did different stuff, I was like, okay, that's that's a better way I can do it. So that's what your stories reminded me of. So.
Yeah, that's cool.
Well, and in a way, the whole BYU Idaho learning model is almost a mentor-mentee relationship.
I thought the same thing. We're encouraged to learn from our peers and to teach one another, and if you look at it, and sorry to cut you off, if you look at it in a bigger perspective, that's kind of what we're doing in life anyway. Like throughout life, we're all here to help each other improve and progress. But yeah, I agree with you, Melanie. The learning model is designed that way.
So going back to the case study, what other approaches or programs might help employees develop their careers?
Besides mentoring?
Yeah, besides mentoring, what else? What other suggestions would you have to help employees develop their careers?
I mean, you always to do like a training, kind of, like what you were saying. I'm sorry, Leslie, if I cut you off, but
Go ahead, Kim.
Like you were mentioning with your coworkers, is you're teaching them this stuff that could be like a training, but doesn't necessarily have to be like a mentor-mentee. It could just be like, we need you to learn this stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing, like continuing education courses.
Mm-hmm.
That aren't necessarily required, but that are beneficial, and so they're encourage employees to use those opportunities. Yeah.
And I'm actually able to go to school because my work pays tuition reimbursement. So works out really nice that way.
Yeah, that is nice.
Another thing that I thought of too is, what about having a career exploration day? Oftentimes in large offices you have several departments and you may not know what the other departments do. So what if you go old school back to middle school and have a career exploration day where you can rotate through the different departments and see what it is they're doing. Maybe there's going to be something there that interests you more than what you're doing, and give you an idea. Because I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of what kind of businesses would be good for that.
Well, even in the bank, in the case study, had a lot of different departments.
Oh, okay. Because I used to work for the Four Seasons hotels, and there's so many departments within a hotel. You've got the kitchen staff, you've got housekeeping, you've got the human resources, then you have the boutique, the retail area. I mean, you've got so much, and it was nice the times that we got to go into the different departments and see kind of how they affect our operation and how every part is an integral part of the company. Kind of just made you realize like how it takes you got to run a tight ship. Every department has to be in working order because they all work together. If one department, if I showed up to pick up my uniform from laundry, because every day we'd pick up our uniform, go get changed, and then head to the spa. So if I went to laundry and my uniform wasn't clean from the night before, the shift that I worked before, then you could see how that would just screw up my whole day. And so it's like every department has to be tightly run ship, and it was nice to see, from a perspective that you don't normally work in.
It gives you the whole picture.
The whole picture, yeah.
Instead of just your little part of the world, it helps you understand maybe even what the goals of the company are, because you're seeing how everybody's working together.
Yeah.
Well, I almost think it gives you a sort of gratitude for other people's jobs. Because you're so used to this, you may not realize that other people's jobs, the only reason your job works is because other people do their job.
Yeah.
So I think you gain an appreciation for what they do.
Exactly.
Do you think a less formal mentoring program would be better? So where the mentees would be free to pick whoever they wanted for their mentor versus being matched up. Do you think that would be a better program?
I almost feel that would be like middle school PE all over again.
I agree.
It would be like,
I got
you're the last one today, so did I. And I was the tallest. I'm 5'11". Why did no one want me? But whatever.
You're 5'11". That's funny.
I am.
You can't tell how tall somebody is on camera. It's like you would just never know.
Just kidding. Yeah. But yeah, and but and the thing is, I think people's feelings can get hurt. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're 2 or 99 or whatever. People still have insecurities, and and so I don't think that type of thing would have done as well as opposed to like, here we match up this person because we feel like they get along with you, but.
Yeah. I agree with that, and also just to add that it would naturally you gravitate towards the people who you're most comfortable with. You have the most similarities and you jive well with each other, but that doesn't stretch you to be able to work with different kinds of personalities and stuff, and be able to teach something to somebody who you don't have a personal relationship with is stretching your capabilities and helping them grow as well. So I think that dynamic is kind of important to not just, to be paired up with someone new, someone different than you would normally choose.
No, that's a very good point, because I know I am not one to reach out necessarily beyond my own circle, and so if I was told to pair up with somebody, I'm going to go to my friend and pair up.
Yeah.
So that, and you're right, it doesn't stretch you. You're not learning anything. It's a wasted opportunity.
Yep.
That was a good point.
Well, I always think you grow more when you're in a little bit more uncomfortable situation. And you have to get to know something new. I think it's an opportunity for a person to grow, because it's getting out of your comfort zone and getting used to something that you're not used to.
Yeah. So, Kim, I know you were there last week for the class meeting.
I was.
Did you watch it, Kim? I mean, Leslie, did you get a chance to watch it?
No.
So one of the guys, one of our classmates was saying how he had a choice between 2 jobs. One of them was going to be, sorry, I think that's Matthew texting. One job was going to be his dream job that he absolutely would have loved, and the other job was going to be one that was going to stretch him and make him grow and just be harder. And he ended up picking the one that was going to be harder to do because of the growth opportunities, knowing that at some point in his career that other position would be open to him, his dream job would. But for now, it's a learning time.
Yeah, well,
I'm just responding to Matthew really quick.
No, you're fine. It's good to make those sacrifices sometimes. So.
I know with my career as a massage therapist, I was afraid to do anything different because I didn't know if I could or if I would be any good at it. I only knew how to do massage since I was 19 years old. So when I took the job at the office, I was like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I don't know basic things like Excel, or operating Outlook and Excel and stuff like that. And so I was like nervous that I would just fumble, And but then I was like, if I don't take this opportunity, when am I going to apply those things? When am I going to learn those things? And I have to stretch and grow and try this. And it came with some struggle, and I felt inadequate, even though my job is fairly simple. I just felt like, oh my gosh, I should know how to do this. This is not rocket science. But I was glad that I didn't let my fears keep me from taking the job and changing careers.
That's cool.
So why would a company want to create a formal mentoring program rather than allowing the mentoring relationships to form more naturally? And we did kind of address this already about, stretching and growing. But what's another benefit for creating a formal program?
I think it keeps it continuous. I mean, if it's like, here's a program, we're doing the program every year, everyone knows every year it's going to happen. As opposed to if you just let it happen naturally, it could be really good one year, and then the next year it may not be so good. So I just think it'd be good to, repetition.
At the beginning of the case study pointed out too, when the idea was initially brought up, the employees were kind of skeptical that it was going to get off the ground. They really liked the idea, but past experience have proved that it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was a good point. That it's with the formal program, it's perpetual instead of sporadic.
Yeah, I think any program really runs more efficiently when there's organization in it. Just like everything we do in our church, the reason our church runs so efficiently is there's order, there's organization, and it's not just arbitrary, because arbitrary might work out. You might get lucky and wow, this is fantastic, but like Kim said, the next time it might not. And so consistency is key, and an order to the process or the program.
I like that, organization. So can you think of any improvements that would need to be made to the Federal Reserve Bank mentorship program?
To make it better?
Yes.
Well, no. To make it worse? Well, that was a dumb question.
Improvements, yeah, means make it better.
Come on.
I know.
I don't know. My thing is, if it's running well, don't, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I mean, yes, I guess there's always a way to improve everything, but it was like the first year it ran well, and then was the second year they had a little bit less of a downturn, and then for some reason they did something that boosted back up, and I can't remember where it said that.
Well, the second year they didn't think they needed to advertise as much for it, that it was just going to be, kind of word of mouth. And so I think that that's something that they could have improved on, is, really ramping it up again for getting the employees excited about round two. Otherwise, you just don't. They had to turn away people for the first round, and so definitely those should have been the people that they approached first when setting up the second one. But advertising and making your employees aware of what's happening. The first time they had 3 different sessions to promote it, 2 during lunch, 2 during, or am I thinking of something else?
You might be thinking about what we read last week.
I'm thinking about.
I have it in front of me. I'm skimming through right now.
I see. I only see. Let's see. Okay, for people who wanted more information, Ruben Stein and Mari Hodge, however you pronounce it, held 3 lunchtime information sessions, in which they gave employees an overview of the program and answered their questions. 2 sessions occurred during the noon lunch hour, and 1 session was held during the nighttime, the night shifts, late time, lunchtime. That's on page 5, second paragraph.
I was gonna say, I'm glad I'm not going crazy.
Well, as I said, that sounds a lot like what we talked about last week, but it's not. So. Okay.
So yeah, they really got out there and they, had these informational sessions. They handed out fact sheets, pamphlets, applications. They were talking to everybody about it. But then when it started up the second time, they felt like they had done enough promotion the first time around that they didn't need to worry about it. So I think that's something that they could have improved, and then they maybe would have gotten at least the same amount of people interested, or even maybe more.
Well, and I almost wonder if it would have benefited them to bump it up to more than just 25. Like, I almost wonder if it would have been, because the beginning round was at 25.
Yes.
Yeah. So I almost wonder if the second round, even if they bumped up to like 30 participants, 30 mentees, 30 mentors, I don't think it would have like completely thrown off the system as opposed to like 50 or 75. Excuse me, I'm sorry, but I think maybe just doing something simple like that would have, made it.
Well, they ended up having the first time around 37 mentors and 44 mentees applied for the pilot program.
Yeah.
I think that was too big of a group. I think you're right that maybe a couple different off of their original thought of 25 would have been okay, but there was just too many. You had to put a cutoff point, especially with it being the pilot program. You didn't know how effective it was going to run. You were hoping for the best, and fortunately, it did work out really well for them. But I've seen before where there's so much enthusiasm getting a new program started that it fizzles quickly because you can't keep up that level of enthusiasm when there's so many people.
Well, it's a lot of people to organize and check in on and maintain and everything. So going back to what I said, I think it said they did, because it says the advisory group decided to begin another round of the mentoring program in the summer of 2001, this time allowing 30 pairs to participate. So they were going to up it up to 30.
Right, the second time.
Yeah, so I guess that's an improvement they already were going to make.
Right. But then, unfortunately, they just didn't have the amount of interest.
Yeah. Well, they were, what did it say? They believed advertising too much would be flooded with applications.
But isn't it better to be flooded and say, you know what, I'm sorry, we'll put you on the list for next time, but we're already full to capacity for this time?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know. You can never over-advertise.
Well, I think when you have so many people that want to be a part of it, I think it shows the executives how important the program is. Mm-hmm. Which, that can keep implemented for a lot longer than just, 1, 2, 3 rounds.
Right.
So.
Why do you think, and we've been talking about this, can you think of anything else, any other reasons why fewer people signed up the second time around?
Besides that they didn't advertise it as well?
Yes.
I don't know. I mean, unless just if the word of mouth wasn't as huge. But I mean, but even then, people still have to make a conscious decision whether or not to sign up for it.
Do you think some of it may have been the timing of the program, too? Because they were going to start the next one during the summer? I just, I wondered about that because people tend to take vacations
That's true.
in the summer, and the original, oh, when did they start?
See, I thought the promos were a year long.
They're 9 months. Oh, yeah, wait, you're right. They are a year long.
Yeah, so that's why I thought they were a year.
But it said that on page 6, the program began in late October.
Oh. The 2 training sessions. Well, then, I mean, if it's supposed to last a year, why would it begin? Why would it begin in the summer? Unless it wasn't quite a year. When was it, in '99 or 2000 when they did the first one?
2000.
Okay, it was 2000.
October 2000. So maybe it was more of a 9-month program.
Yeah. Well, because it says that she did 1, 3, and 6-month evaluations. Yeah. That's what it says on page 8.
Oh, and then it says the first 9 months, the program manager's role for the first 9 months.
Where's that at?
That's on page 7. The first 9 months. So is that indicating that it was just a 9-month program?
No.
Or that was just the first 9 months of the year long?
The first 9 months of the program.
We're on page 7. If you don't.
Oh, sorry, at the bottom of page 7, it's the paragraph. It's like middle of the page. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
You see the header, or the bold print that said the first 9 months, and then it says the program manager's role.
I'm like, Rubenstein developed the library. It does not say the first 9 months in there. Sorry.
So, because I really thought it was going to be a year-long, because they had to commit to 4 hours a week for a year. I mean, 4 hours a month for 1 year. So maybe they were starting the second round before the first round finished because it was already so far into it that things were running smoothly. That could have been it too. But I did have the thought when it said that, the second round was going to start in June. There's a lot of people who take vacations and stuff throughout the summer that, maybe they couldn't commit to the 4 hours a month.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, maybe.
I find it funny that they not to be like stingy, but it says in August of 2001, they held a breakfast for the mentors at which they expressed their appreciation for their mentors' participation on the gift certificates. So why would you do it when the second round has started? Why wouldn't you give them like a thank you at the end of the program instead of like 2 months into the second? I don't know. That's just me.
So look at the bottom of page 10, the last sentence. They were still working on improving the less than 1-year-old pilot program. Oh no, Matt's internet's out for an hour.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh.
Son of a gun. I love how people's use of bad words on text messaging. Just kidding. Nice.
I'll send him some questions like I did you, Leslie.
Okay.
When you're having problems.
Yeah.
And post on our page. I wish I could spell when I text.
You wish you could spell, is that what you said?
Yeah, I hate texting. I always have fat fingers.
Oh, I don't text. I just talk to Siri. She answers.
And tell her what to text.
Yeah. I'll never be able to spell. Just kidding.
So yeah, that is interesting that it wasn't even a year and they were having the breakfast and that.
Yeah.
You know, maybe that's another improvement that they needed to make with the program. That maybe a year was too long of a commitment. Maybe 9 months was a better length of time.
Yeah. Because they could, I mean, they could start it in, September or even, late August and then be done by May.
And just have it consistently every September or August is when it starts, so that you know when to get your application in every year.
Yeah, well, and that would give them time in the summer to revamp anything that need to be fixed to the program, to look over applicants and try to get them paired with a mentor. It gives them, the people over it, I forget their names, but give them a chance to get all the ducks in line before the next program started.
And you may get some repeat mentors or even mentees.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. They need a break a little bit, just from going from one mentee to the next mentee.
Well, and because it's a volunteer program, the mentors actually had to apply to be part of the program. So if it was, a year-long program consistently, then maybe they wouldn't apply for a second session because they did need a break.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Where if you make it 9 months, and maybe they're more willing to commit to that.
And 9 months is still plenty of time, I think. You can get so much accomplished in that amount of time and still give, a break in the program for improvements or whatever.
So Kim, you had mentioned that you thought it was a good idea to add more people to the mentoring program to make the quota higher.
Mm-hmm.
How high do you think they should go?
I was saying just for the second round, upping up to 30, and then when I read they were doing that, I was like, oh, never mind. Mm-hmm. But I mean, as far as how high they should go, you don't want to you want to have the program have a positive effect. You don't want it to become a redundant thing, and so I mean, I probably wouldn't go much higher than 50. But that's just my own personal opinion. Just because I still think that would keep it, small enough group so it's still manageable by this, by the person that's over it, and that way it can still be effective, as opposed to when you get a large amount of people, it's, I mentioned it's hard to follow everyone around and make sure everything's getting accomplished that they want to have accomplished. And
did you see anywhere? Oh, 2,000 employees. So they have a good employee base to work off of.
Oh, okay.
I was just wondering, at what point do you reach a saturation where they aren't going to get any new mentors because everyone has gone through the program? But 2,000, that could last a while. But but because of it, there being a concrete number, 50 may be too high. I mean, because if you were to involve 50 each time, that's 100, or 50 mentors, 50 mentees. That's 100 people at one time. I don't know.
Burn through your employees really quickly. Well, and I also think that I think that.
Hang on, sorry.
We have another participant in our group. Do you want me to continue? Yes, no? Okay. Well, I was just thinking that there might be more than one mentor that can help out a mentee. So I mean, just because you have 100 or 50 going through it every time doesn't necessarily mean that you might not have another mentor that may help another mentee, and then it could flip where the mentees become the mentors.
Right.
Because this is after a year they're allowed to apply, and and they could even open it up, because they wanted to open up to, I don't know if they said starting or just outside people. Maybe I'm wrong, but if they open it up to a wider base than just that, it could possibly.
That would be one way to get to involve more people. is to open it up to the community. Or even, kind of like an internship with maybe high school seniors who are getting ready to figure out what they want to do in life, and maybe they want to become involved in being a mentee, to see if they have an interest in the banking business.
Yeah. Or almost like a job shadowing thing.
Right. Yeah. But more than just one day. My boys, my two older boys graduated in June from high school, and they had to do a job shadow, and it was just really lame. It was like one day, and they, that doesn't necessarily tell them what they want to do. One of my boys, actually, once he graduated, he got a full-time job with Boeing, and he did his job shadow with somebody not at Boeing but the same industry. So he knew what he wanted to do. And my other one, the one who's in college right now, he thought he wanted to be a chemical engineer and did his job shadow, and because it was required to graduate. And he gets to college, and a couple of weeks ago he changed his major from chemical engineering to fish and wildlife management or something. So I don't think that one day of job shadowing, I know, right? I don't think one day of job shadowing is enough to help you decide whether or not that's something that you want to do in your career. So yeah, a mentorship would be a much better program, I think.
Yeah. That is, I almost wish that they would have done something like that when I graduated high school. Kind of give you like, you can do this and kind of open up your perspective of what you'd like to do, or maybe do. I mean, I know when I worked as a CNA, we'd always get these little girls come in and see if they want to be a CNA or a nurse, and show them around. But no, I think that's great that they did that out there.
I don't think it's as common now, that hospitals used to have like a candy striper program where you'd get
they're volunteers,
volunteer teenage kids, girls usually, in there, who had an interest in going into the medical field. So I think there needs to be a lot more of that.
Oh, so do I.
Programs.
Well, I just think it just prepares them for what they're getting to. It's kind of like your son who was doing one and then went to another major. I think it really can kind of help them to, okay, this is what I kind of like to do, and I think it's a genius idea.
Yeah. How can the bank encourage people who really need mentoring to get mentoring? Because they couldn't force them to sign up, but how can they? We've all seen people who just need help. But how can they encourage them without, I don't know, hurting feelings or making them feel like their job's on the line?
I mean, you could always kind of like sway those that have had positive relationships to go kind of like, inconspicuously kind of speak highly of the program and how they benefited and how they think that it could be good for them, or, I don't know, in a non-shady way.
Maybe get a mentor for the mentor, get a mentor for the, to encourage them to do it. Yeah, I don't know. It's, and some people's personalities, the more you push them, the more they back away and want nothing to do with it. I don't know. Could there be some kind of maybe a financial reward, or? But then then it goes back to you going back to, are you doing it for the money, or are you doing it because you really want to do it?
Yeah. Are you talking about both for the mentee and the mentors, or just one group specifically?
No, one group specifically.
Which group are you talking about specifically?
People who really need to go through the mentor program to be.
Okay, how do you get them to?
Yeah.
Without insulting them and saying like they need this training, they need this extra training. Yeah, it's
remedial training.
it is kind of hard, I suppose. I guess just talk about the benefits of career development and promotion and that kind of stuff, and just encouraging the being well-rounded, being more knowledgeable, being more skilled, and like anybody who doesn't want those things is like they're gonna come off to be like lazy or not very ambitious, and so they probably won't want to appear that way amongst their peers and colleagues and stuff. So if you just accentuate the positives and hope that those things would attract people to want to be mentored.
Melanie, you mentioned financial compensation. I think that there are some people that the only way to motivate them is some sort of compensation. Whether it's financial or it could be anything, or maybe extra days off or something like that. I think there just are those people that in order for them to do something, you have to offer them a reward.
Yeah, gift cards go a long way. Gift cards excite people for some reason. It's like, here, you get a gift card to your favorite restaurant if you enroll in this program or whatever.
So can you just offer it to one person, or is that going to end up causing problems if you don't give it to everyone?
I think you'd have to give it to everyone.
Yeah, you'd have to give it to everyone.
Maybe just in different quantities. No, I'm just kidding.
It did.
You get $2, you get 10.
I think it said I'm pretty sure it said in the case study that they weren't getting anything in return. They weren't getting a promise of a better job. It had to be on their own. They couldn't put it in. I don't know. Was it something about putting it in? They couldn't put it in their goals, or what was it? Trying to think of where that was at, but
there were those that were promoted because of the program. But let's just go ahead. Sorry.
Right, but it wasn't guaranteed that they would receive a promotion for completing it. But I thought, in my job anyway, we have to create goals every year, and our bonuses and our raises every year are based on how successfully you complete your goals. And I thought, while this kind of a mentor program wouldn't necessarily be that bump up you need to get a better raise or whatever, maybe just being able to use it as one of your goals for the year would help a person want to complete it, because there is that potential of a better bonus or higher pay.
Well, I with a lot of the jobs I've had, they've kind of, it hasn't necessarily been goals, but it's just, it's just like, we want you to accomplish this, and if you do this, then, then we can possibly do this, like almost like a reward. Like, so where my husband works, he has his base salary he gets, but if he sees more patients than what his base salary would require, he gets what are called RVUs, which is just like, extra monetary compensation. And so it's more beneficial for him to see more patients, whether or not they're pains or super easy patients. So, but I almost wonder if that's just a standard with most jobs, because a lot of jobs I've had almost like that. We're trying to help you better yourself, type of thing.
Well, it's continual improvement.
Yeah.
They want you. In our reading this week, they talked about businesses want employees to be engaged, and in order to do that, they offer them education opportunities. So, I think.
Melanie,
go ahead.
Sorry. I was say just kind of reminds me of like you and your profession. So because you work there, your job, gives you the opportunity to pay for your tuition to your school. Was that you, right?
Yeah.
So it's almost like a benefit. It's like, yeah, because I work here, I don't have to pay for tuition. I mean, to me, that's a huge benefit.
Right.
So.
Yeah. That's a
I
huge
think
perk.
more and more larger companies are offering that because they see the value of improved, just employees in general. They're improving their skill set, they're improving their knowledge, and you do have more enthusiasm for your job.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's about all that I have for our discussion. I think it was a pretty good discussion. I feel bad that Matt got bumped out, but
Well, can he watch this?
Yeah, he can go back and
Yeah,
watch
he can watch it back.
Yeah.
Good.
And I'll give him some questions and have him posted on our group so that we can get some of his opinions as well. And then I just wanted to take a couple minutes to talk about our Doohickey paper that's due next week.
Oh, yeah.
Is that next week? No, it's the week after.
Did we get the remarks on our last paper?
Yeah, we did. Did you not get that in yours?
No, I got the percentage was a 96%, but were there comments and remarks?
Yes. Well, sort of.
I think you were the one because you're the one that posted it, aren't you, Melanie?
Yeah, I posted it.
Yeah, because mine says like your leader has the notes or something like that.
Okay, so hang on. Let me pull it up. I thought a 96 was great.
I know, I was super excited.
That is great, especially for our first one.
Oh,
yeah.
shoot. It signed me out. Hang on.
Because I think Matt presents next week. Oh no, wait a minute. Is it due next week? Y'all are scaring me.
It's week 7 next week, isn't it?
It is. Oh, that's crazy. Oh, look, that's the wrong class. It would make more sense why that's not showing up.
Okay, so let me just go over what we got on the last one, and then I can go back in and see. I'm pretty sure it's due next week, though. Okay, so grammar and spelling, punctuation, we got 10 out of 10. The paper identifies 3 HR problems related to the lessons covered since the last Doohickey. The problems are explained in detail. We got 10 out of 10. The paper identifies 4 possible solutions to each problem and clearly details each solution and how it will be implemented. We had 14 out of 15. The paper includes a thoughtful, detailed analysis of the most important problem and solutions with clear applications from content studied in class to date. That was 23 out of 25. The paper demonstrates application of the concepts learned from the readings and discussion within the lessons covered since the last Doohickey's paper, 19 out of 20, and then for overall excellence, 20 out of 20. And the feedback was, great job, Group 9, your work was interesting and had good solutions. You had an effective introduction and conclusion. Good job, Leslie. Was well organized and had adequate detail. There were a few points on areas that could have been just a bit stronger, but overall, excellent work. And those were our notes.
So you are right. It is due on November 7th, which is next Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's coming really quick, and I have this big Boy Scout cookout to do on the 7th, or it's actually on the 6th. So we're having a huge pack meeting / cookout.
So your part, Leslie, because you presented last week on recruiting, that's the portion of the paper that you're going to write. And so you can certainly have it done prior to, yes. In fact, we need to have our rough draft in, I think, by Wednesday.
Okay,
just to give
so we're going to talk about recruiting, or I'm going to talk about recruiting. What are the other parts going to be?
So I will do mine on career development and training, which is what we talked about tonight. And then Matthew does it for whatever next week's topic is.
What is next week's? Hold on a second, I'll tell you. Motivation and safety.
Motivation and safety. Okay. So,
do we have a Google document opened up yet?
no, I'm going to remind Matthew that he said he'd get that open for us.
Okay.
But I'll write down an outline of what we talk about tonight to post to it.
Okay.
So, did anybody have any solutions for the recruiting problem with doohickeys?
I was just going to look at the case study. I found my papers. You know, part of me is like worried because I feel like some of the things we talked about last paper, some of those same solutions would almost apply to this paper.
Right.
Okay, so you were talking about recruiting?
Recruiting.
Well, I mean, it could always come down to, you know, when the CEO was talking about how he hired his own, you know, hired whoever he wanted. But go ahead, Leslie. Or whoever was talking. Sorry, I was looking at my paper.
Oh, I guess we talked about it in the last paper about recruiting internally and not off the streets, but I guess so we're going to be kind of talking about it again.
I think we need to
in a different way, like elaborating on it, or.
Well, I think. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So one of the things I saw was from our reading last week is that the manager who is in charge of the employee should have the final say in who is hired.
Yeah.
And so that does state it differently than what we stated before.
But I know that we, like, as a solution in our paper that I stated that, like, because I remember saying, like, the CEO shouldn't be involved until the final phase and he should have the ultimate say, you know, like.
But see, now that we have the information from our last reading that says it shouldn't be the CEO that has the final say, I feel like we can go back and we can correct.
No, what I'm saying is that's how we stated it.
Right.
So we're not correcting it. We're reiterating what we already said in the last paper. I'm
well,
just
verifying.
We're not.
But we're not, because the CEO should not have the final say.
Okay. You're right. That was the problem with Doohickeys, was that the CEO was directly involved in hiring his friends and that kind of thing, right? But
yes,
as a solution to that problem, we stated as a solution that the CEO shouldn't be involved until the last phase. So that's what I'm saying is we've already.
Okay, but what you're saying is that our solution was that the CEO not be involved until the last phase.
Yeah.
Okay. So that we came up with that solution prior to our reading last week, where we read that the manager who is directly above the new recruit, that manager should have the final say.
Oh, because he's the head of that department or whatever.
Yes,
okay.
And not the CEO.
Not the CEO.
Right, and so that's why I'm thinking we can use it again, because we didn't have that information before. And now that we do, we can better address the problem, I think, than what we did before. I think that there is going to be some overlap, but if we can pin it down better, then I think we're going to.
Okay, that's my only concern. I don't mind doing recruitment. Like, I was just concerned about being redundant from the things that we talked about in the last paper. I think in our efforts to discuss diversity, we were talking about recruiting from an internal perspective versus out on word on the street or whatever. And so I felt like it will overlap a little bit, but we're addressing the proper things, so if there's overlap, I don't think he'll fault us for that.
Well, part of me wonders if we can have the same problems if our solutions are going to be different because we're learning new information.
Okay, yeah.
Well, but I do think that our problems Was recruiting an actual it wasn't the title of our problem last time, was it?
No, our problem was diversity.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think Leslie's right, because I remember we mentioned something about, like,
Yeah.
when we mentioned diversity, we talked about, instead of just focusing on something, we should try to get others involved.
Right.
So.
Okay. So if there's a little bit of overlap, I'm not gonna sweat it. I
Yeah,
think that he'll be fine with it as long as we're addressing the problem.
Yeah. Well, I think if the solutions actually come from the reading, or seem to more come from the reading, as opposed to what we, as opposed to repeat of the paper. Although I'm okay with resubmitting the paper.
Okay.
Anyways.
Okay, so did anybody else have any ideas for solutions for the recruiting problem? I've lost my notebook that I have my Doohickey's paper in. Oh wait, here it is. So I had put down that they need to advertise, they need to broaden their advertising strategy. And
outside of the company.
Well,
yeah. Well, because in the thing it just says, some posts. Okay, let's see. Some posts download, prepare, some advertise using online like Monster.com. Others hire through a local temp agency. There's no standardized procedure for any of the hiring. A lot of manufacturing workers get hired by coming in asking for jobs. So maybe when you're talking about recruiting, you could just like localize it and just say, instead of going here, maybe we should focus on one. But that would also contradict what Brother Bonnie was saying about the fact that you should focus on Craigslist and stuff like that.
Right. Well, I think that they need to have a set procedure for, we're going to advertise on Craigslist, we're going to advertise here, here, and here, and when a job is posted, it needs to be advertised in all of these places instead of, managers' preferences.
Yeah.
And then I also I had written down while we were talking last time that the direct manager needs to have the final say in hiring.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, we'll definitely include that in there. So go ahead.
In the Doohickey, in the fourth paragraph at the end, it says there are no standardized procedures for any of the hiring.
Okay.
So I think that can be part of recruitment, is standardizing hiring procedures.
Okay.
I agree.
So do you think that needs to be can that be a separate solution from standardizing the advertising aspect?
Well, because I think one. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought again.
Well, and maybe, yeah, I think they could be separate, and maybe you wouldn't call standardizing the hiring, but just kind of having, I had it in my head just a moment ago.
Say your thing again, Melanie, that we're trying to differentiate.
Okay. So there are no standardized procedures for any of the hiring. Is that versus making a standardized procedure specifically for the advertising portion of?
Okay, so now I got it. Okay, so when you're advertised for hiring, it's completely different for hiring, because when you're advertising, it's just like Bill, Bob, Joe, and Paul could all show up because it's not an advertisement for a job. But the way that, whether or not you hire them can be something completely different.
Well, and when they said there's no standardized procedures for hiring, I think that means there's no real formal interview, like submission of application, followed by a formal interview, followed by this procedure, followed by orientation, followed by training. That's part of the hiring process. And so I think that that's what they mean by a standardized procedure for hiring. That is different than marketing this job to this demographic or these,
I like
marketing is not the right.
Yeah, I really like that too, because when you look for an advertisement, people aren't going to say, and part of this you're going to have to do this, 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 and this. So I can get this good idea, Leslie.
Yeah.
Separate the two.
So what about a potential other solution to offer a hiring referral bonus if your referral is
Hired
accepted?
on.
Because it said that they're already like trying to get their friends hired, but would you try and get all your friends hired if you knew that your bonus was, if you knew your friend was not qualified, would you still try and get them hired on just to collect the money? Or would you be more particular in who you refer for the job because you want the money?
That's a good question, but if you're if you're working for a reputable company and you know that there's a certain screening process in place, which right now there's not at Doohickey's, but we're trying to form one. Say that there was one, you would know that your friend who's not that capable of this job, you're not going to refer them because they're not going to pass the screening process, so you wouldn't waste your time. But you would refer those friends who would actually would be good candidates. And I do think the monetary value or the monetary thing is kind of an incentive. We had that at the Four Seasons. If your friend got hired on, you got like a $500 or a $200, maybe it's something like that, cash bonus or something if they got hired on and they had to stay longer than like their probation period, 90 days or something.
Well, and I like that idea, Leslie, because it's because it's showing you could also say like the person like you'll get compensation depending upon how that person performs.
Yeah.
Which and that could be hard because if the person isn't very good, but but that's also on you too.
We could just use that model though that they have to pass the probationary period, which most jobs require a 90-day kind of prove yourself kind of thing. So we could use that as one of the solutions, sure.
I think that they would maybe get higher quality candidates that are referred if, there's something to shoot for. My work does $500, and unfortunately I don't know anybody who can do the specific jobs that are out there.
Yeah.
So.
And that's the thing though too, is there's nothing wrong with hiring your friends if your friends are good candidates for the job. No one says like you can't, hire people that or that everyone at the workplace isn't supposed to know each other outside the office, but it's like that's kind of how we find out about jobs oftentimes. So it's perfectly fine as long as you're meet the requirement, the qualifications for the position, I think.
Okay. So the 4 solutions we have then is standardize the marketing for advertising for the job. The direct manager has final say in hiring referral bonus after probation period, and standardized hiring processes from the whole interview through onboarding process.
Yeah, I would say from application to onboarding.
Application. Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So as we were going through our discussion tonight, I wrote down a few potential solutions for the career development training. I had, and I want your input too. Offering continuing education, which we talked about that. Maybe career exploration within the company.
I like that, yeah.
When we talked about, going back to the middle school days and seeing how getting a chance to see how all the different parts of the company work together for the greater good. A mentor program between management and technicians, I thought, because the technicians felt like they couldn't go anywhere in their jobs.
Well, and wasn't there
or that
one
they
that
couldn't talk
had
to?
well, wasn't there one that Did he like one other guy fired or something like that?
No, I'm sorry, what?
I'm you're talking about working with the other person. And wasn't a part of the story where it says like one of the supervisors wanted this guy fired because he talked back to him or something like that?
Oh, right, yeah.
So I definitely think that would apply to that.
And one of the things you could include is that, because right now the employees don't feel like there's any communication at all, but the mentorship would also allow for them to like form the kind of like bonds or just get to know their superiors like on a personal kind of level because they're interacting more closely, I guess. So it would just improve communication all around.
So
and
team
unity. So there would be some like positive effects aside from just learning the skill that they're being mentored on,
Okay. And then I also had cross training as far as, well, I mean, I guess that kind of.
So being
more than one job.
capable in more than one skill?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Being able to move between departments maybe if someone's out sick or something?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, I like it.
Me too.
Okay, so I've got to run.
Okay.
So I'm going to stop it, and then I'll post these on a Google Doc, and then if people have other ideas, we can do that too, okay?
Okay.
All right, we'll talk to you guys later.
All right, have a good
Thanks.
night.
Hey, guys.
Bye.
Good night.
That was an hour and a half. I know. My phone is like so hot right now, it's gonna explode. So what team are you going for?
Kansas City.
Yeah. Oh wow, it's tied.